Hey guys, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We're doing some traveling, so we're not in our normal location, but I did want to give you some things to begin thinking about for this week with regards to accents. I want to target specifically what are the biggest problem areas when it comes to pronunciation and make sure that you're not falling for these mistakes. So that way you can sound most natural when you speak in American English. Okay. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to your daily American English pronunciation show. Wake Up America. We're here Monday through Friday, typically around now, 8 a.m. New York, to make sure that you can get in your 5 to 10 minutes of practice for the day. In the Guidance process, there's me. Hello, my name is Jeff. Breath of breath. It's one of the four keys to natural in American English, including placement, pitch, breath, trying to weaken your consonant sounds and strengthen your vowel sounds. Yeah, so let's just talk about a couple of problem areas that I see. The very first problem area that I'd like you to pay attention to is probably one of the most confused vowel sounds in American English, which is the short I sound or I versus the E sound or E, which is probably what you have in your first language. So for the short I sound, it's I, for instance, in a word like sit, like SIT, sit. And to make this sound something that can be helpful, tap the sides of your tongue, touch against your top front teeth. So it's like eh, eh, eh. You want to make sure you're not saying e. So like for instance, the opposite of that would be like seat. See if you can hear a difference between these words like sit, seat, sit, seat. Hello to Gachim. Hello also to Milat. So again, make sure you're not confusing those two vowels. It's like sit, seat, like rid versus read, hit versus heat, his versus he's. All these sorts of sounds are very commonly mispronounced when it comes to people who have learned American English. And what you may find too, what I see with students all the time is that because the short I sound, the I sound doesn't exist in your first language, yeah, often becomes a little bit easier over time. Um, versus that E sound, because it exists in your first language, it's so easy to go back to how you pronounce it in your first language. So just kind of be careful with that. Eventually, over time, I would not be surprised if the E sound gives you more problems than the sounds. So we want to make sure we have a low placement and we're using our diaphragm. We have enough air moving through. So again, it's like E. So it's not E, because most likely in your first language, you're getting something that's more similar to an E than an E. So watch out for that. So that's the very first sound I would say to watch out for. The second sound is the ah sound, like in cat or fast. For those of you who have British training, you might be used pronouncing it like past or fast and things like that. So we want to make sure, first of all, we're making an actual ah sound. Okay. So like making sure again, the middle of your tongue's a little high, and the back and front of your tongue are down. Again, it sounds like ah, like in cat, back, black. Okay. Your first language most likely does not have this ah sound. It's very particular to American English. British English doesn't even have it. So watching out for this ah sound. To make this sound even more fun, when it links with a nasal, like a letter N or letter M or letter NG, then it changes even more because that ah sound becomes more like an eh. And right before your N, you're going to do a heavy breath out of your nose. So like and, man, pan, can, sand sounds kind of like that. So you have to be careful. This ass sounds just so tricky and fun. So take your time with it. It can be a little bit problematic. Okay, so just watch out for that. So like the ass sound is another vowel sound I want you to pay attention to. So the I sound, E sound, that's the very first group I want you to watch out for. The A sound, A plus nasal sound, is another sound I want you to watch out for. The next sound I'd like you to take a look at would be the L sound, the letter L, like in luck or bubble. Well, actually, let's even look at it this way. Say the word level for me, just level, level. Okay. And there's a chance that maybe you're pronouncing both of those L's the same. But a lot of times, if you listen to native speakers talk, they're going to pronounce each of those a little bit differently. And that's because that first L, very often people use a light L with the tip of the tongue right there touching against your alveolar ridge, the top of your mouth, it's like l, l, le. And then that second L sound, when you see an L in the middle of words or at the end of a word, a more common situation will be that people use what's called a dark L, which means the tip of the tongue goes against the bottom of the mouth. And it's going to instead sound like oh, oh. Hear that difference between and oh. It's like level, level. Okay. So just a note about that. Another thing with that too is that, in all honesty, the dark L can appear in honestly any position you see an L sound. So it's very possible that you could also make a dark L sound for the tip of your tongue down, even for that first L. So you can say level. That's with a light L, my tongue high for both. Level. You can say light L to dark L. It's like level. Or you can do dark L for both. Level. That dark L sound can be really helpful because it can help lower your placement and allow more breath to come through. So just a note on that. So those are three sounds right there. The next sound that tends to be a little bit difficult for students, we talked again about E confusion. We talked about A sounds. We talked about L sounds. The last one I want to give you for today is the letter N. And the reason for the letter N is because it causes people to shift their placement over and over again. Okay. And to demonstrate this, just I ask you, what sound does the letter N make in your first language? Okay. It most likely in your first language sounds something like n. Okay. But in American English, instead of doing that n, it can be helpful instead if you lower your placement, project lower, you get more of an hear a difference between and n, n, hear that difference? Okay. This can be really important because if an N appears in a word and you raise the placement on the end sound, it's going to make the entire word sound high. So to give an example of this, if we look at a word like, for instance, moon, moon, if we go high on the placement on the end sound, it can end up sounding like moon, moon, versus moon, moon. Okay, so your end sound's having a pretty big impact there. Another example I use a lot is the word pain. It's like if you're saying pain versus pain. You hear the difference there? Okay, and this is all because of placement. So if you allow your placement to go high on your end sound, it can make your whole word sound a little bit tense and go a little high. Okay, so just watch out for that. The other thing I would say about end sounds is make sure you don't add a vowel before the end. So it's not payin, it's pain. It's not mooin, it's moon. All right, guys. So those are just four specific sounds in American English that I see over and over again. I would say those are probably what I would list as probably the four most difficult pronunciation sounds in American English. Study those. Let me know if you have questions, and I will see you all later. Hope you guys have a good day, have a good night, and a good afternoon. Bye.